What was the evidence that they were bewitched? It's all contained in before whose eyes Jesus Christ was clearly portrayed crucified. Paul had come and presented the truth of the death and the crucifixion and the resurrection of Jesus in tremendous clarity. They'd received it, believed on it, and enjoyed all these experiences. But then another spiritual force had come in, and what had it done? It had obscured what was accomplished by the death of Jesus on the cross. So that Paul says, Jesus Christ was clearly portrayed, crucified, but you've lost the vision. You don't see it any longer. It's still empty, and fruit are no longer manifest among you. You see, the cross is the place where all human needs were met, once and for all. But once we lose the sight of the cross, we begin to live in our needs again. The cross was the place where Satan was finally and totally defeated. That's number one reason why he wants to obscure what was accomplished on the cross. Because once that's obscured, he begins to regain his power over us. Meditating has caused me to follow two themes, and I'll try to follow them both. First of all, I became extremely concerned as to what was the real nature of witchcraft. How could witchcraft gain influence over Christians who had been baptized in the Holy Spirit and experienced the spiritual working power of God? Secondly, and parallel with that, I gained a tremendous desire to know really was the significance of the death of Jesus on the cross. What was accomplished by it that Satan was so eager to steal from us? And so this caused me to go in two directions. One was to analyze the nature of witchcraft. The other was to analyze what we are entitled to as our inheritance through the death of Jesus on the cross. I don't intend to dwell for too long on the nature of witchcraft. My main theme in these meetings will be the cross and what was accomplished by it. First of all, let me say, when I speak about the cross, I'm not speaking about a wooden or a metal cross that hangs around a person's neck or on the wall of a church. I'm not criticizing them, I'm not against them, but I don't mean that. When I talk about cross, I mean that which was accomplished by the sacrificial death of Jesus Christ on the cross. But rather than use that long phrase all the time, I'm simply going to say the cross. What is the nature of witchcraft? Well, perhaps I better go back because there's a personal background to this. In 1979, I was at a family convention or conference in the state of Missouri in the United States. And in the middle of one of the meetings, a young man whom I'd never seen before, and I don't think I've ever seen him since, came forward and gave a very remarkable prophecy. And it wasn't really directly connected with any of the themes of the conference. Now, I have this prophecy. It was recorded on tape, and I have a typed version of it. But I won't try to quote it at length. I'll just simply say two things. It didn't kind of begin with a preamble. It said, all the Lord has been doing against witchcraft up to this time has been nothing but preliminary skirmishes. But from now on, God is declared total war on witchcraft. And then it said the reason is because witchcraft has millions of men bound whom God needs in his end-time army. And then as a kind of P.S., it said, and as you engage in this war, you will encounter people who are under curses that have been passed on from generation to generation. But you do not need to be afraid, because you will have power to release them from those curses. Well, up that time, was 1979, I had hardly given any thought whatever to the theme curses. And I didn't immediately decide, well, this is a theme I must examine. But in the course of experience and dealing with people and situations, in the next 5 years or more, I was brought face to face with the reality of curses, which is totally scriptural. The word curse is used more than 200 times in the Bible. And I discovered that one root problem that keeps multitudes of Christians, all that God intends them to enjoy, is the existence of a curse over their lives. Now, when I was here in New Zealand last time, I preached on this in Wellington Town Hall, and it was one of the most powerful meetings I've ever been privileged to participate in. And the repercussions of that have been felt all around New Zealand. A printed version of my message was produced here by Warren and has circulated in New Zealand, and I no doubt it's available if you want to purchase it. Later, in my radio program, which most of you are familiar with, I devoted 2 weeks of teaching to the theme From Curse to Blessing. And in advance, we produced a transcript of my messages, and during weeks, I told people if that message seemed to meet the need, they should write in for a free copy of the transcript. Now, the program was aired for 2 weeks to about 65 stations in the United States, and in response, more than 6,000 people wrote in for free transcripts. That is more than 3 times the response we've ever had to any of my other messages. And for instance, my message on rejection, cause, and cure, which most of you I'm sure have heard, had produced a tremendous response. But the response to this message on curses was just staggering. So this past month, we aired again for 2 weeks, and the response was even greater. And more than 6,000 people wrote in for the transcript. And with their letters, many of them submitted testimonies of the remarkable change that had taken place in their lives when they followed me in the prayer with which I closed those messages, a prayer of release from curses. I would say in my own experience in ministry, I have seen more dramatic, large-scale results from teaching on curses than from any other ministry. And many of you know I've had a lot of dramatic results from teaching on deliverance from evil spirits. There's a number of my messages that produce dramatic results. But this message, From Curse to Blessing, is in a class by itself at the present time. Now, I just relate that because I want you to see that it was not my initiative. And I'm always afraid of anything that I initiate. But God initiated this new thrust of seeking Him in His Word, the truth that's needed for His people. Because of the experience that I've had in fulfillment of that promise that I would be able to release people from curses, I am truly satisfied that that particular prophetic message was inspired and given by God. That is, as it were, objective confirmation. So God has declared all-out war on witchcraft. You need to know that. God very clearly challenged Ruth and me to join Him in that war. I don't think we could say enlist. We were conscript. I'm not sure it had been left to us to enlist, whether we would have decided to do so. And so one of the results was that I began to say to myself, well, what is witchcraft? What is the nature of it? I had already encountered the spirit of witchcraft in the ministry of deliverance. Now, this will probably may shock you, but What startled me was I encountered it